In this lesson, we'll be learning about dashboards, one of the newest features. It's included in IBM Cognos Analytics. And in order to describe it or to explain all the components to help us out, we'll start by creating a dashboard. So using the New button and choosing the default tabbed freeform template. We'll open our interface. You'll notice that we have one tab, and similar to the reporting environment, we've got an area where we can go and get our data. So I'll choose again the New and go to Samples, Data, and we're going to select a sample data module for our data, which is a spreadsheet. If we expand it, you can see that we have the following components. Well, in here we're going to simply grab and drag in the product line and quantity together. So that's one way to create a report. This will actually create a chart. So we'll drag it in. And what the dashboard will do is it'll try and figure out the best way or the best type of chart to create for what you selected. And it's showing us an example of a chart. And you'll notice that this is what it chose, but there's also a little, what I call a floating toolbar attached to this chart. Also, what we have, if you look at the bottom, there's a data tray which actually will show you the data that's being used to feed this report. That's our data tray. On the bottom, you have another button which usually comes up with some text, but it's used either as a resize or pan button. You should see the icons. Every now and then it goes invisible, so I won't worry about it right now. But in the right mode, you can go in and pan it, and you can move the image around inside, or you can use it as a resize. So it's a toggle type of button. On the left, with the left toolbar, we have the following. The first one being the source. Now the source can be any file. It can be even enterprise data. The second one is a search, but it's not an ordinary search. We'll see an example of that. You can actually type something in. Show me the revenue by retailer or whatever. And it's going to scan through the data to find different sources that you can use to create such a report. And it'll actually create one. So based off of whatever your source is, you can simply insert that chart into your dashboard. So that's a special little visualization. It's a visualization search tool. The next one is our media tool. And the media tool will insert objects such as videos, web pages, or images into your chart. The next one is going to be the shapes. You can use this to draw up all kinds of different shapes and even add animations to it. The next one is, of course, going to be our text. So you can drag in different types of text. You can do a title, put captions, etc. And then the final one, of course, is going to be similar to the little floating toolbar. It's going to be the visualizations available. Now, this is only one of the ways of choosing a visualization. You have multiple others. I mentioned the floating toolbar. That happens when we click certain areas of our chart. There's one place where we can change the type of chart. Now, also with that floating toolbar, so we only saw the one way of changing the charts. This is the pin. If you have some things that are important, if you created a chart that you want to be able to save, it'll actually put it up so that you can access it up on top with the bar on top. Second line on this floating toolbar is going to be your duplicate. You can copy and paste this chart or titles or whatever to duplicate your work. This is, of course, a trash bin. This pencil is going to be your edit the title, and it's going to create a title area from within the chart that you can add to explain your chart. Up on top, might as well mention what's up on this top. Now, we can actually bring in different data sources and then create a relationship between them. And this view widget connections has to do with managing how the data sources are going to be linked together, sort of like your mini framework manager tool. I already mentioned that you have your pins, which when we pin a chart, it will be available for us when we click on that. And then finally we have, of course, our properties tools used to apply the properties, different properties to whatever it is that we're working on. So to demonstrate some of these features, we're going to create a new dashboard. So we're going to do this exercise. The source will be found in Team Content Samples Data. Sample Data Module. And expand it. Expand the file. And we're going to look at a couple of different ways of creating a chart. The first will be simply by dragging in two components. We'll drag in retailer by revenue. And by doing this, when we drag those two query items in, Cognos is it's looking at the fact that you're bringing in the retailer, which is a location, and as a result, it's giving us a map. We're going to address the properties. I'm going to give myself some more room, make sure I have my chart selected, my map, and go into my properties. And to start off with, I can see my legend. I want it to appear at the top, so I'll say top. And the type of map I'd like to have is a satellite. There we can see the satellite. If I want to see what makes up this chart, I'm going to close up the properties here for a moment. This button is the expand button, and you can see if I want to refine the regions, if I want to do point sizes for anything. So other query items, which by the way have to be from that same data source, can be brought in and adjusted in these new drop zones. I'm going to give this a title. So collapse the form, choose one of the buttons to invoke, again, my floating toolbar, and I'm going to give myself a title, which is going to be satellite view. If I could type, that'd be a great thing. Of the world. At this point, I'd like to create another chart. I'd like to create a bar chart off of another file I have. And so I'll say freeform use. I got my second tab. And this time we'll do so using our visualization based on your search. And I'm going to type in country by revenue. So I've got something that's, I've got a file in there that gives me country by revenue. And if I look at the different displays based off of the data sources, I find the sample extensions data, which is the one that I want. So I'll say use and close this window to give myself some space. And I'm looking for just certain countries: Canada, China, Germany, and Japan. So I'll control select to start off with Canada, China, Germany, and Japan, and right click them, and I get a chance. What do I want to do? Do I want to keep them or exclude them? I actually want to keep them. And I'd actually like to see this as a clustered bar. So choosing one of my different methods of changing the chart, I could have done it from the visualizations. I'm going to, using this floating toolbar, I'll go into my charts and I'll choose a clustered bar. Now I'd like to see how these countries are doing by year. So there's where this expand comes in helpful. Comes in a little bit of handy, the arrow, and I'm going to add year for the color. Going back to my data, and of course for this chart is I gotta find that data. There it is. It's a downloaded file actually, and I'm going to bring in year, put it into the color, and now I can collapse the chart to see what it looks like. And I'd like to pin this chart because it's a chart that I want to see a little bit later. Close up the properties a little bit, or the pins. Now one of the tools I don't know if I explained, from this floating toolbar that shows up when we click on one of the resize buttons, the pin will actually bring it into this area so I can view it later. Of course, there's duplicate trash, edit the title, etc. So now what I want to do is I now want to put a border on this. So with the chart selected, I'll go into my properties and general, and the border color I'm going to put as red. I'm going to give this a title as well. So with my edit the title, this is the title inside. I'll say yearly revenue. And I also want a title on the top, so I'll make myself a little space. Turn this off. And from my text, I'll grab a title and put it up on top. It wants a little bit more space. And the title is going to say Retailer Progress Report. And size them up accordingly. Bring it up to the left, line it up, bring my chart up a little bit. You see I've got some size up lines. And save this as location dashboard. There you have a dashboard. So now I'm going to make sure it's saved, close it up. And from my welcome, I'll go into my team content, navigate to where I saved it, and there it is. There's the icon for a dashboard. And there's my two tabs. There's my satellite view of the world, and the second chart, which is my bar chart.